You're listening to the Things You Don't Hear in Church podcast, a show where your hosts, Derry and Ethan, discuss the controversial topics often avoided by the church. They also discuss culture, society, and everyday goofs. And now, Derry and Ethan.
Welcome back, everybody. This is the Things You Don't Hear in Church podcast.
What's up?
Like you heard at the beginning, I'm Ethan,
My name's Derry.
and we discuss the gray areas of the Christian faith. And today, specifically, we are helping you guys learn some tricks, I guess to say, on how to have edifying conversations with those around you regarding spirituality and Christianity and all that good stuff. We're talking about evangelism, which is a big Christian word just to say how to share your faith with other people.
Yep, we got a question from one of y'all on Instagram on one of our polls where we talked about what would you guys want to hear us talk about, and one of the most requested ones was how do you share your faith, or how do you share the gospel, what is evangelism, right? And it's a super hard question, right? We all struggle with that to a degree, and it's hard to know exactly what do I share. Like, I'm not a professional at this. I'm not like a pastor. I don't really get this kind of training in church. Like, my pastor's never done a seminar on how to do this before, so I'm just kind of confused. It makes sense, unless you've had official training on it like we have. It's kind of hard to know what to share when you're trying to share your faith.
Yeah, it can be very scary.
Yeah,
very
super scary, intimidating.
As it should be, talking to people is, public speaking is like most of everyone's number one fear. And now you're just going to do it one-on-one to a stranger you don't know about it.
And on top of that, you're talking about the most intimate thing you can possibly talk about with someone, right?
Sex.
the very existence of that being. Why are they here? What's the purpose of life is the number one thing people when they're falling asleep at night have struggles about. You know what I mean?
Man.
And so you're bringing that up to someone in a very raw way. Maybe someone's your friend, maybe someone you don't know, who knows? But it's hard to know. You want to say the right things. You don't want to mess up. You want to represent what you believe correctly.
You don't want to make them mad.
Yeah.
You shouldn't, though.
It's just a hard thing to do. Maybe we can talk about our background in it a little bit. So why we have kind of the ability to talk about it.
Been evangelizing. Well, I don't know. I officially got training in it 4 years ago in YWAM, and then did schools specifically geared towards evangelism as you did as well, and we just have had specific training on how to do it.
Yeah.
And watched a lot of YouTube.
Yep. Yeah. Me too. I've also done the School of Missions and Evangelism here at YWAM. I did it in Yosemite, and then I've been doing street evangelism and interpersonal evangelism, all the different kinds of evangelism for a while. From cross-cultural evangelism to lots of different cultures in Asia and more Eastern countries to evangelism in America, online, lots of different variations of trying to do evangelism and figuring out how to share what I believe and trying to share the truth with people so that they can also see the truth as well and gain a relationship with God. It's been really cool over the last few years, being able to see what works, what doesn't work, how my personality, what works best to share with my personality, with the kind of thing I'm trying to share. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I definitely there's definitely different areas of the world that work better at different parts. So for different openers, right? So there's things you can say, and we'll get into this about ways to even start the conversation that can be beneficial in some regards, and other places it's not. For instance, in California, I'd say, hey, do you want to talk about spirituality? Almost everyone said yes, and they're like, yeah, let's do it, and they'd have a great conversation. I went to Michigan, and I'd be like, hey, you want to talk about spirituality? And everyone would be like, no, go away. Why are you here?
Yeah.
And so it's just real funny.
You got to contextualize to wherever you are, right?
Yeah. I think a lot of ways, I guess success stories come about, or how you have good techniques is a lot of trial and error. Let's see what happens. I might make a fool of myself.
Yeah.
But,
or God just asked you to share. Or something like that.
Or one time I approached someone and went to share the gospel and got weirdly in depth about Adam and Eve and all that stuff. And then I walked away with my friend and I was like, I don't think 90% of that needed to be shared.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't think so either. And I was like, on to the next.
All right.
Adapt, overcome.
Definitely a lot of trial and error. Before we start as well, some of the fruit that we've seen, we've probably seen together in the last 3 years, probably close to 300 people get saved, whether in Asia or a team we're a part of. Or,
you said 300?
Yeah.
You've seen 300 people get saved?
Yeah, in all the schools I've been a part of.
Oh, nice.
Upper 200s, but you've been a part of those schools as well.
Yeah, I don't keep track.
Well, I think it's been like
I just think that's a lot.
In the high
Maybe.
200s.
Well, you specifically have a really high success rate in salvations, I would say. I think I've thought about it. I'm like, man, I think part of Derry's calling is just he's a reaper. Like there's people who sow seeds, there's people who reap the harvest. It's a Christian terms just to say those who evangelize and those who God allows to see salvations. Mm-hmm. And I just think, because I like when I'm like doing evangelism normally, I don't see that. I'm like, huh. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we've seen a lot of people come to Jesus.
Yeah.
Seen miracles.
Whether it's like online or through interpersonal evangelism or just like raw, like walking up to someone on the street that you don't know. Yeah, seen it in a lot of different ways. Mm-hmm. But we can talk about and get into like what's the meat of what we're trying to share, right? Like the thing that we're doing has a lot of different mediums, whether it be to someone you've never known before or a friend you've like had for a long time, a family member, or if you're talking to someone online. There's a lot of different mediums you can have for sharing the message. Yeah. But we want to talk about like what the message is, what do I actually share, like kind of taking away some of the intimidation of this for people that are trying to learn how to share the gospel, right?
Yeah.
So we can give them like a clear picture of what do I share, like can you make it easy for me so it's just like as little amount of intimidating as it possibly is. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Quick Spark Notes version, how to evangelize.
It's like, what's the gospel? What do I share with someone? Go.
Right. Yeah. So I'd say the main keys in the gospel that you're going to want to hit in the conversation are definitely going to be sin being a reality in humanity and in their life. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be a jerk about it and be like, you're a sinner. You just bring it to their attention that they are in this area of wrong where they're sinning and they need to make some...
why do they need a savior, right?
Right. Like, you don't know you need a savior unless you know why you need a savior. And the reason people need a savior is because they're sinners, right? So bring sin to their attention, then bring Jesus to their attention, and then bring, like, when you bring Jesus or, like, the fact that God exists and you're a sinner and you need Jesus, then you bring the message of grace, right? And the message of salvation through Jesus. And a lot of times I think what happens is we say, oh, you can be saved by just confessing with your mouth and believing in your heart and you're good. And people only ever hear that and they walk away.
Yeah. I'm saved now. I got the ticket.
Right. And that there's an aspect of, yes, you're not saved by merit, but there is an idea when you become a Christian, there is now an expectation that God is holding you to of, hey, you should act like a Christian.
Yeah. You have a transformation that's supposed to make you desire the things of God.
Right. And the whole Bible talks, there's so much about like, hey, if you're saved, your salvation is going to show that you're saved. Mm-hmm. You can't just get saved and then never have any change and expect to be good.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways to share the gospel with somebody. But there's, like Ethan said, like your main points, right? Someone needs to know why they need to believe in God. And people are going to ask you different questions based off of the things you share. But you got to know like why you need a savior, why you're accepting Christ into your heart, how to have a relationship with God, and how he made that happen, right? So i.e. the cross, resurrection.
And then you can also give them some good like best practices as Christians, like hey, you should probably read your Bible every day. Mm-hmm. If you don't know a lot about that, check out the last 2 episodes. We got why to read the Bible and how to read the Bible. We'll just put them right here. Mm-hmm. But go check those out if you haven't.
So for someone like me, like I can hear the gospel very differently than other people. Like if someone just tries to share a story with me, I'm not going to be very impacted by that story necessarily being true in reality. Like I need evidence to like change my belief in something. But for instance, if I'm talking to someone in different Asian cultures, they're much more persuaded by like the story or like a story of a miracle or something profound that happened or God doing something or telling them a word or an act of power. Like that's the thing that convinces them a lot of the time. I'm not really super convinced by those things just because I'm so into like philosophy that like I need that kind of a foundation for me to change my mind on something. Just because I think about what I believe a lot. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's just more what I need. So when I'm sharing the gospel, just my personality, that's what I also try to share as much as I can.
Like why it makes sense.
Yeah, why it would make sense to believe in this God, right? So if I have a long time with someone, I'll go through like a long kind of conversation of why I believe in God, why they should believe in God kind of thing, right? And I'll start it out with something like, I believe in the God of the Bible, and I believe he's the only God that could exist if a God exists. I'll talk about how I think a God exists because, and I'll give like some evidence for that, like how irreducible complexity or...
I don't even know what that means.
Like how things can't...
Irreducible complexity?
Yeah.
That's
like,
a big term.
You can't make something less complex. and have it like go towards complexity, right? So like I couldn't like throw some dirt on the ground and have it become like a painting,
Okay,
right? So you can't like reduce the complexity of something and have it just form, right?
Yeah.
So like how we are, like I don't believe that we could have just come from nothing, right? I believe that if we exist, it must have been from a God because we're complex beings. You sort of give the example of like you point at a building and you'll say like, you think that building has an architect? And the person will say, yeah, like it's obvious someone designed it. It has design, it has complexity. And you'll be like, cool. And you'll be like, point to the tree next to the building and you'll say, this tree is obviously more complex than that building right there. It's alive. It feeds an ecosystem. And just like the complexities of the biology of that tree is so far beyond like the dead building next to it. Why would I infer design to that complex building and not infer design to that tree that I can't build or recreate right next to it, right? Does that make sense? So that's sort of like the irreducible complexity model. And there's a lot of other ones you can go into, but I sort of give like a baseline of why I believe in a God. And then I'll talk about like why I believe in the God of the Bible, right? And you can give a lot of different evidence for that. But I usually like to talk about how, okay, we've already established a God exists. I believe the God of the Bible is the only God that can exist because of an intent of creation. So I think this is one of the strongest arguments for the God of the Bible existing. And if you just have a single God, like say, like in Islam, they have a single God. It's a very similar style to Christianity, right? You in their belief of who
one God,
similar. It's very similar.
No other way is he similar to our God.
Yeah. So they just believe in one God, and I would say that one God has no desire to create ever, because in just being God, you are completely sufficient in yourself. You don't need anything. Like you are outside of time. You have all power. You have all knowledge. You have everything you could ever need or want, right? You don't need any of those things because you are God. You are infinite, right? So there's no reason for you to create to have slaves because you already have everything, right? There's no reason for you to create to experiment because you already know everything, right? There's no reason for you to create to have relationship or love because you're completely sufficient in yourself. Right? You don't have relationship or love because you are a singular being. You have no relation. Relation is just to relate to another being, right? So if you don't have any of those things, you have no desire to actually create anything. So it doesn't stand that logically you would, as a God, create. So we shouldn't be here if that kind of a God exists, right? There's no reason for us to have been seeded or planted, right? Or created. So I believe the God of the Bible is the God that exists because you still have to have that factor of a God is infinite, right? It has to be.
I have a question about like how come the Islamic God has no desire to create? Like where do you draw that from?
For all the reasons that I just gave. Like he has no relationability. So he has no reason because he's a single God. Like if you are infinite
so is the Christian God.
No, he's not. But the Christian God is the Trinity. And the Trinity has relation.
Yeah, but all three parts are just one God.
Yeah, but they have relation within themselves, right? They love each other and they have relationship. And so that our God has a relationship and has a reason to create because he has a relationship, whereas the God of Islam does not have a relationship within his own parts, so he cannot have that desire to want to create full relation, right?
Interesting. We're just getting into the philosophy of God right now, but I would just say I don't necessarily think that God being one, like the Islamic God where he's not three parts, he's just the one part. I don't think that would say he can't have the desire for a relationship.
Why?
He is self-sufficient, but like a want is not a need, right? And like God has, like, obviously a Christian God doesn't need relationship either. But he's like, I don't know. I think it's just you can't say you have an ultimate God and then put limiting factors on him in a way where
you can.
I mean, I guess
you have to understand him.
God can't lie in a sense, right? Because he is the truth.
Yeah.
But yeah,
just by the bounds of philosophy and knowing the truth, which is the study of knowing truth. You have to put bounds on things to define them. And so the God of Islam has to have the boundary of he has no relational part to his being, so he cannot create full relationship, right? Because he in himself is totally self-sufficient. He has no reason to create full relationship because
right. I think they would just say like, oh, but he can do that because he's God. He can do whatever he wants.
Oh, but yeah, he could, but he doesn't need to. He doesn't need anything, and he wouldn't want to either. He wouldn't need or want to. The only reason the God of the Bible, in my opinion, wants to create is because he is relational within his own being, right? You see the Father being passionate about the Son and his love for the Son, And you see that also through the Holy Spirit in the Bible. You see it all throughout the New Testament.
Yeah, but there's an aspect where he's still one God.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think you just think way deeper than I do about it. I just think God just did what he wanted.
Yeah, well, there has to be parts to it, right? So God has a relationship within himself. He is one God within three parts, three persons in the one God, a Trinitarian God. And I believe that's the only model that can exist of God. Because there's no reason God would want to create besides to have a relationship, in my opinion, right? So just moving past this, because this is not what we're talking about.
Let's get back onto like how to evangelize.
Yeah, this is not really what we're talking about. So I'd say that, and I'd say that's why I believe the God of the Bible exists, and then I'd go into why we, like how we had a relationship with him, and then how that relationship was broken, and then why sin entered the world through that relationship being broken, and then how we need to be forgiven of sin to have a relationship again with God, and how God did that through Christ Jesus on the cross and his death and resurrection, and then how that relationship was restored through Christ's death and resurrection. And I talk about like now, what does it mean more to have a relationship with God and to walk with him further? And then I ask them if they want to accept Christ and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So that's just more how I would explain the gospel to someone. And that would take usually a long time because they would have a lot of questions and be going through a lot of philosophy. But you can explain it as easily as, I used to be this way, and then I have a relationship with, I like encounter Jesus and I have a relationship with him, and now this is what my life is, right? It would take maybe 30 seconds. You could say, I was addicted to drugs and I was abusive to people around me, and then Christ found me and I encountered him and I gave my life to Christ, and now I'm a loving person that doesn't like try to leech off of people, and I'm no longer addicted to drugs, right? Mm-hmm. That's like the shortest way you can give a testimony of who I was, how Christ saved me, and then who I am now, and then you can explain more of like what the cross is and how that changed you, right? There's so many ways to explain the gospel in short to like really long answers.
Yeah, and I'd say one of the best things you can do in sharing the gospel is really to ask questions about the other person, right? Like everyone loves talking about themselves.
Yeah,
like that's a proven fact.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I don't really. I've always like even the people who I think are the quietest or most shy and they don't really want to talk too much. I just ask them about themselves, and then they just start lighting up and they go in a lot of detail. So you can ask a lot of people like, "Hey, what do you like? Do you think a God exists?" And then they might say, "Yes," and you say, "Okay, well, what do you think that God would be like if that God exists?" Yeah. And then they can answer that. You can just keep asking them questions, and if they say, "No, I don't think a God exists," you'd be like, "Oh, interesting. Why don't you think a God could exist?"
Yeah.
And then once you just continue to ask them questions, and you're intentionally listening, like actually listening, and not just being like, oh, I can't wait till they slip up and I'm going to get them. Like, but actually hear them out and like hear what they're like, where they're coming from, because that's empathy, and empathy is really how you get and reach people's lives. So you just listen to them and ask them questions, and once you come across something that you don't really understand, then you can ask a question. Like, I think I shared this before, but I don't remember. But I was talking to some Mormons one time, and I was like, hey guys, I have some serious questions about your faith. I don't know many Mormons. I had friends who were Mormons in high school, but I wasn't like deep into my faith, so we didn't get deep into it. And so I was like, can you answer some questions for me? And they're like, yeah, sure. And they sat down at the table I was at, and we just started having a conversation. And I asked like, hey, I've heard that you guys think that Jesus and God are brothers, or Jesus and Satan are brothers. And they're like, yeah, we do. And I was like, okay, can you explain that to me? Because that's not what I read when I see the Bible.
Right.
And they're like, sure. And they went through it, and I was like, okay, cool. And then I didn't understand something, so I said, you said this, can you explain this then? And they're like, yeah, sure. And they were super excited to share. And I wasn't like just asking these things to trick them. I was asking because I was like, I don't know anything
genuinely curious.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know anything about Latter-day Saints.
Believe.
I want to know.
Right.
And so then once I got to a point, I kind of asked them like, oh, do you think God is just and is like, he's a just God and he's a loving God? And they're like, yeah. And I said, well, from what the information you just gave me and you saying that you believe this, those two things don't line up. Basically, they said like they think that everyone's brothers, like Satan, Jesus, all of humanity are all in one family, right. And we all existed in heaven before, and then we got sent to earth to see if we could be good enough to come back. And that's basically from their information, or we can be gods. Yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting.
And so I asked them, I was like, well, how do you think God is just and loving? And they're like, of course. I was like, okay, so in order to be in heaven, you have to be sinless, right? And they said, yes. And I said, okay, so you're telling me that we were sinless and in heaven, and God sent us to earth just to hope that we would be good enough to come back. And that to me doesn't seem loving or just, because if we were innocent, we have no reason to come to earth and then fall into sin and then not be allowed back in. So I was like, that just doesn't make sense to me. And was a good talking point, and then they didn't want to have the conversation after that because they didn't really have too much an answer, unfortunately. But like in that, I wasn't asking like, oh, I'm gonna trap them. I was just like, I have no idea what they think or what they believe, so I'm gonna ask them until I find some place to have common ground.
Right.
So asking other people questions is really good. Just be their friend and listen, basically.
Yeah. People always love to listen, or not listen. People always love to talk, and one of the most intimidating things about evangelism is like knowing what to say and having all of that pressure on like, what do I say? Like, what if I say the wrong thing and all those kinds of things? If you just want to listen, it's so easy to get into places where people want to share with you and you can share with them, where you just ask them a question. You can be like, you don't have any like preconceived script or anything. I could just walk up to Ethan if I didn't know him or if we're friends, he doesn't believe what I believe, and I could say, hey, like, I've been really thinking about like what I believe
you're
lately.
Wrong.
I've been thinking about what I believe lately. Like, what do you believe? And then they could be like, are you sure? Like, you want to talk about that? I don't know if I want to talk about it. And I'd be like, yeah, I sincerely, like, I'm trying to figure out like what I believe completely. Like, I want to know what you believe. You know what I mean? I'd love to be challenged by like what you believe. And they can share what they believe with you, whether they're Hindu, agnostic, atheist, whatever they are. They can share their beliefs with you, and then you can share your beliefs with them. And because you were open and you were honest and you weren't trying to like hide your agenda from them, they're so open to hear what you have to say and to also share with you very openly.
Yeah. The people love talking about themselves, and if you show them that you value them, they're going to open up. Yeah. And you can show people you value them when you just meet them, or if you've known them for so many years.
Right.
Also, the most important thing is you have to act out of love. You know, you can't be evangelizing to think, I'm going to find some idiot who believes something super stupid and then bash them.
Wreck them.
That's not going to go well for you, and it's just not going to be edifying. Paul talks about in chapter 13 of 1 Corinthians, it's the love chapter. Everyone knows love is this, love is that, love is this, whatever. And then he ends with, if I have not love, I am nothing. Not he says he has nothing as well, but then he says I am nothing.
Right.
Like your essence and your being without love is really not really much to go off of.
Yeah.
Because God is love, and if we're Christians, servants of God, and we're supposed to share Him with the world, we're supposed to share love. So you can't really share love if you're not being loving. It doesn't have to be like this weird like emotion, like I love you so much.
Right.
But it's just a genuine care for the individual and wanting to see them encounter God in a way that's transformative and real. And once you have that passion and that desire, when you say things, they'll be able to tell that you care. You know, they'll be able to see that you're being empathetic, and they'll be probably more likely to relate to you. And I would also say, don't give yourself the pressure that you think you need to see salvations all the time.
Yeah.
You know, the Bible's we're only instructed as Christians to share the gospel. It's not your job to save the individual. That's God's responsibility. And all you are is the messenger boy, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. So we could share forever about different methods on how to share the gospel, what is the gospel, right? It's really up to you, though, to decide, like, in the bounds of what Christ did and why we need a Savior. It's up to you on what you want to share, whether it's a testimony, or it's the exact gospel, or it's a long-form philosophizing about, like, why God came and all those kind of things, right? It's your choice, and you have to style it to the person you're talking to and what they need to hear as well. You can ask the Holy Spirit to tell you what to say and to guide you as you talk to the person. But we can kind of move on into like how to make it not scary, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of the main ways to make sharing the gospel not a scary thing, and like how to evangelize like not a scary thing, is just by doing it a lot. You know what I mean? Like with anything that's scary, like skateboarding, and if like you're at the top of the ramp and you're gonna drop in and you've never dropped in before, and you're like, I can't do this. Like, I don't know. Or like jumping off of like a 20-foot cliff, like into water. You're like so scared. You're on the edge and like you're hesitating. You don't know if you want to go. It's the same way with like sharing your faith with someone. It can be really scary.
Oh, yeah.
For a lot of people, especially like confronting something that deep in somebody. And one of the only ways to get rid of that feeling is just by doing it, right?
Yeah, you got to jump head first.
Yeah. Once you jump off of that cliff, when you go back up that cliff again, you're like, oh, I can do this. Like, I've been through this before. It could still be intimidating, like the height. You can still kind of feel that in your chest, but you have the experience of knowing I've done this before. It went well. I had a good time, and I can do it again. You know what I mean? And evangelism is the same way. Sharing the gospel is the same thing, right? Once you take that plunge, it can be scary again the next time approaching someone, but every time you do it, it gets repeatedly easier and easier and easier.
And also pray before you go out. Pray that you would be used by God, obviously, and then pray that God would lead you to certain people and then also that your words would reflect accurately who God is.
Yeah.
You want to always pray and make sure what you're doing is clothed in prayer. And when I say make sure you pray that God would lead you to the right people, that's not saying only go up to people you feel led to go up to. I think people like, how many people do you share with? Like we run schools here and we talk to students. It's like, oh, who'd you share with? Like, oh, really? Like,
nobody.
I didn't feel led this evening to really share with anyone, so I just like prayed a lot. And I'm like,
well,
okay, well, that doesn't. You have the Bible says go make disciples. It says go preach the gospel.
Right.
So there's your leading. Go to whoever, just anyone you see. The idea of being led to certain people just means that you're gonna like, I'm gonna talk to 30 people, and you pray, God, lead me to the right people. Maybe 3 of those 30 people really get it.
Yeah.
That could be God's leading, but don't just not do it because you don't feel a leading, whatever that looks like.
Right. I felt the same way out of fear. You want to really, when you're asking the Holy Spirit to guide you in what you're doing, He's there to help you know what to say to that person. But the fact is, everybody needs to hear the gospel, right? Mm-hmm. There's not one person, because they're intimidating and they're not the person you usually talk to, you don't share the gospel with because they're intimidating. That's the fear of man. That's not you like hearing from the Holy Spirit and Him telling you like you shouldn't talk to that person, right? Like that's not what we're getting.
Absolutely. And going into that idea of like fear of man or someone being intimidating, right? I remember in my SOME, I got done like 5 minutes early. SOME is a school here at YWAM about evangelism, School of Missions and Evangelism. Mm-hmm. I remember I got done with, we're meeting at whatever time, let's say 3 o'clock, and I got there at like 2:50 and saw some of my classmates standing around. So I jokingly was like, you guys got 10 minutes. Why don't you go talk to someone about Jesus? Wasting your time.
Yeah.
And my staff was like, all right, Ethan, let's go. And I was like, I just got here. No, they've been standing here for 5 minutes. I get to now. They got 15 minutes. Now it's my 10 minutes.
All right.
And then I was like, all right, Ethan, like boss up. So I was like, all right, let's go. Who do you want to go to? And so then my staff was like, let's go with those people over there. Mm-hmm. And they were like these, and I was like 21, I think, but these are like some beefy football players, like 6-something, very big boys. And I was like,
big boys.
I was talking about intimidating. I was like, but then my staff who was asking me to go was this like little blonde girl from Canada, and which is not little, but she's sweet blonde girl, and she's just like, let's go. And I was like, if she's not gonna back down, I'm not gonna be showed up by her now. So my pride was like, all right, we're going.
We go.
I was like, we're intimidated, but we're going. And so I was a student, so she decided to take the reins on this one. But she's like, she said, she walked up, she's like, hey, like if you guys could have anything in the world, what would you ask for? And this guy goes, so I'd ask for my shoulder and back pain to be gone. And I was like,
wow, that's not a big
you just trapped yourself. That's what I thought to myself. And so we started talking, and I was like, interesting enough, you said that you wish your back pain and shoulder pain would be gone. And I was like, just being very real with you, we're Christians, and we're out here talking to people about our belief today. And we believe God created everything. We believe God heals. Can we pray for you to see if God wants to heal you? And he's like, sure, go for it. He's like, I don't care, whatever.
Right.
And he's atheist at this point. He's like agnostic or whatever. Didn't really have much of a foundation or a desire to have a foundation. And I was like, okay, cool, we can do that. But Scripture says that the preaching of the gospel or the miracles will accompany the preaching of the gospel. So can we tell you the gospel, which is the basic Christian message, and then pray for you? And he's like, okay, go for it. And I was like, awesome, thanks. So we tell him the whole gospel. We're like, hey, do you want to accept this? Do you want to say it? Do you want to like give your life to Jesus? And I was like, just so you know, this is not like a golden ticket to heaven. Like this is requiring a life change. Right. And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And I was like,
wow.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I'm surprised that, preaching the gospel works, but I'm like, all right, let's do it. So we prayed for him. And I was like, well, let's pray for your pain to go away too. And he's like, all right. So we prayed for him, and then his shoulder pain left. And I was like, how do you feel? He's like, well, when he like prayed the prayer of salvation, he looked at me and he's like, whoa. And I was like, what's up, dude? And he's like, I feel lighter. Wow. And I was like, well, that's called the Holy Spirit, which we can get into. But God,
that's the way to send me and take it off your shoulders, young man.
I was like, that's like God changing you, and that's like His Spirit coming into you is what they call that. And she's like, oh, he's like, oh, okay, cool. And I was like, let's pray for your shoulder. He's like, okay, cool. So we prayed for it, and he's like, whoa. I was like, what? And he's like, my shoulder pain's gone. I was like, well, how's your foot? And he's like, oh, it still hurts a little bit. And I was like, do you want to pray for that? He's like, no, it's okay. Like, he's like, this is insane. And I was like, well, we can pray for your shoulder pain to be gone too. And he's like, no, it's fine, dude. Like, this is insane. I was like, oh, okay. Like, if you don't want your shoulder pain gone. Or your ankle pain. But it was amazing. I was like so intimidated right before I went. And I was like, no way. I don't want to do this. And then once we just walked through it, and I had my staff with me there as well, the dude gave his life to Jesus and got healed.
Yeah.
and I saw and the friend that was with him was actually Islamic right there. Like his Muslim friend was right there, and so we started talking up with him a bit. And I saw his friend like last year when I was walking around in UH, and I saw him. I was like, "Hey, you're Max's friend," and he's like, "What?" And I was like, "I just met you guys like years ago. Remember we prayed for him?" He's like, "Oh yeah," and we just got like talk a little bit.
Crazy.
And then I saw him like 3 times in a month. It was weird.
Yeah. So that would be like a practical application of like street evangelism, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's lots of other examples as well of evangelism that you can do. Like for example, I have lots of friends that I've been able to share the gospel with, and it just comes up in natural conversation. It can even be as blunt as you're just sitting there not talking about anything. There was an awkward silence, and then
you say, "Why do you hate God?" Just kidding.
Yeah, you can do that.
Don't do that.
Depending on what kind of friend you have.
What is your problem? No, don't do that.
But there's lots of ways to segue into the gospel, right? Like almost anything.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's like a bad situation that's happening in that person's life, or even a good thing that's happening, or you can just go straight into like no one's saying anything, and you're like, "Why do you guys think we're here?" And start talking about like the existence of humanity. Mm-hmm. There's lots of ways to segue into the gospel with your friends. Same with people online. There's a lot of people online that are willing to express themselves much more freely because there's a medium of I'm not very close to you, right? You're not face to face with me, so I can express myself and what I really feel on here. So a lot of people will actually be willing to talk about like why they exist or why they think they exist or what they believe online when they're not like willing to do it in person as well. So it's a great medium.
Yeah, for street evangelism, if you want a fun game, well, I can give you 2 fun games my friends and I played. We think they're fun. One of them is the rule is you can't back down and say no. So then if me and Derry were going out, I'd see whoever I want him to go talk to. I'm like, all right, Derry, you get that person. And then he'd be like, all right, Ethan, you get that person. And no matter how intimidating they look, we can't say no. Yeah. And so we just got to go talk to them. We're like, okay. And there's no consequence, obviously, but it's just like, these are the rules, man. You just got to do it. Mm-hmm. And so that we would, as a joke, we'd always pick the most like intimidating people we could find. But it helped us get over our fear of confrontation or whatnot. In fear of man, because it'd be like, oh, I can't, like, this guy looks like he's going to be mad. Right. Whenever I'll do it. Or another one is if you can try to find the weirdest segues, like maybe you're walking through a college campus in the food court and you see someone eating some bread. You're like, oh, you like bread. Mm-hmm. Have you tried the bread of life? They're like, what? It's like, oh, let me tell you. Let me tell you about this.
Yeah. We've got lots of stories of both rejection and acceptance. And everything in between, right? Like we've been doing evangelism a long time, and we've seen it all. Or not all, but like a lot of things. We've seen a lot of things happen. Yeah. And we've heard a lot of other like crazy stories. I would say most of the time, you can't be discouraged by people rejecting the faith, right? There's lots of Bible verses about that. Right? You're there as a messenger of what Christ did, and people have the free will to reject the message that you have. And just because someone rejected it, doesn't mean that you should still believe it, or you should feel dejected because like someone decided not to believe it.
Yeah, don't feel bad if people don't receive it when you preach it. You know, Jesus himself came and they killed him, right? So if Jesus, who's God, came to earth and people rejected him, it stands to reason and it's biblical that they're going to reject his people as well. And that's just something you got to accept in life. Like, hey, look, I'm a Christian. People are not going to receive this message because humanity is evil at heart. You know, they don't want this, and this is offensive in nature because they're telling someone you're bad, change your life. Is the basics of it's like the bare, like stripped down to the bare roots of the gospel is you're bad, God's good, turn to follow God, right? And it's offensive. People don't like being told that, and so it's going to offend people. Yeah, but it's better to maybe offend someone and push them closer to heaven than have them comfortably go to hell.
Right. So just for some stories of like rejection and acceptance and the stuff in between, one time I was in Fresno evangelizing just like out in the street with my friend. And we went up to these 3 guys who were around our age. They were sitting at a Five Guys waiting for their food outside. And we started talking to them. And one of them was like a Christian that didn't really care, right? Like a very mediocre Christian. And the other one was agnostic, just meaning he believes there's a God, he doesn't really care though. And the other one was like an avid atheist, right? Yeah. And so we started talking to them, and the atheist guy was like, you can tell me like the gospel and all this kind of stuff and explain to me why you believe in God, but no matter what you say, I'm not going to believe in him, right? Just at the beginning. Mm-hmm. But the other 2 were like open to listen as well. And so we were like, okay, interesting. And so not 10 minutes go by, and I get this atheist dude to admit that God is real, and he is the God of the Bible, and that he loves him and wants him to forgive him of his sins, right? Mm-hmm. Get him to admit all of that. And he says, okay, yeah, I believe all of that, all of those things. And I was like, cool, dude. Like, do you want to give your life to God so you can have a relationship with Him? And he's like, no, not really. I kind of just want to like continue to party. And like when I'm done partying and sinning, and like I'm done with that kind of life, because I'm young, like maybe when I'm 60 or like 45 or something like that, I can give my life to the Lord. And I was like, bro, you could walk out this door right now and you get hit by a car and die. Like there's tons of people who die every day, like before they're supposed to. And he's like, yeah, I know, but like the chances are low, and I'd rather just continue to live my life how I'm living it now. And so that's a response you can have. That guy's being honest. Like he knows what he wants. He's not lying to himself. A lot of people lie to themselves and just become Christians and continue to do what they want to do. You know what I mean? This guy is being more intellectually honest and saying, I do believe that God exists, but I want to keep doing what I want to do. And that's the state of a lot of humanity. You know what I mean?
You don't gotta like it, but you gotta respect it.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember in Greece I had a similar encounter, and I think I said this a couple of weeks ago, I have no idea. But I met this guy, and I was like, he was somewhere in Europe, and he was doing some what's it called? Doctors Without Borders. Mm-hmm. He was doing Doctors Without Borders, and I was talking to him because I thought, oh, he's probably a good moral person. He seems to be spending his free time traveling the world helping people.
Yeah.
And I started talking to him, and he's like, Ethan, listen. And we got like a first name basis. We were like really good, like we were just really good chemistry. We were just like talking about on the same wavelength. And
fun.
Yeah. And he's like, Ethan, listen. He's like, I don't care. He's like, I'm the most immoral person you will meet. And I was like, no, that's not true, dude. You're in Doctors Without Borders. He's like, no. I don't care about these people. He's like, I promise this is just to help my resume and make me look good so I can get a good job and more money. He's like, I don't care about these people. And I was like, really? I was like, there's no way he's being honest. And he's like, yes. He's like, I told you I'm the most immoral person that I know. And I was like, huh. So like, what do you think about? So I thought, okay, if he thinks it's immoral, let's ask him moral questions. Let's ask him about, is it right to murder babies? Is it right of me stab you in the neck if I wanted to? And like, I was just trying to push all the extremes to see how far he would go in this saying he's immoral. We got to the point where I was like, if I just stabbed you right now, is that okay? And he's like, if it helps you in your purpose, then yeah, it's good. And he's like, but for me it's bad, but for you it'd be good. Like the subjective truth thing. Mm-hmm. And earlier he said, Ethan, nothing matters in life except for you do good. And so I was like, so if I like killed you or like your friends, is that good? And he's like, if it helps you in your mission or your purpose, then it's good. And I was like, no, there is no purpose because you said nothing matters. And I told him, I was like, you just said nothing matters, so there is no purpose. You have no purpose by your own logic. Right. And he's like, he's like, nothing matters, but that's why it's okay. And it's like just this nihilistic thing. Right. In the very end, I was like, do you think Hitler was good in what he did? Like Hitler murdered millions of people. Do you think that's a good thing? And he's like, if Hitler's mission and purpose in life that he thought was to destroy the Jews, then he did a good job. Yeah. And I was like, oh, you think he did good? He's like, I don't think it's good, but I think that he did good if he thought that was his mission. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, I guess like, yeah, you are immoral. I think I said that to him. I was like, yeah, dude, but something. He's like, I told you, I'm the most immoral person. And he's like, I remember he's a rock star one time said, if you want the climate, go to heaven, but if you want the company, go to hell. And I like to have fun. Interesting. And so I said, well, dude, you're not going to have fun in hell. But yeah, I guess have a good day. Because the conversation was going nowhere, so we were kind of wrapping up. Right.
So you can get so many different kinds of replies from people. Those are like 2 very long conversations that we share that you can have with people. But we've also been evangelizing together, and we ran into this guy one time in Fresno, and we were just like, hey, can we share like God with you? Like, do you want to talk about spirituality? And he was like, yeah. And we just share the gospel with him, and he's like, yeah, but I want to believe that. And we're like, well, do you want to get saved? He's like, yeah, I do. Yep. And he was really eager. He's like, okay, let's pray. And we're like, yep. And so we prayed, and like in the period of like 5 to like 7 minutes, like the dude heard the gospel, like gave his life to the Lord, found a church, and left. You know what I mean? Yeah, he just like it was that fast. He just wanted to hear it. He was ready to hear it, and he was ready to accept it.
And then he left. And I remember like we looked at each other like, nice. Did that just happen in like 5 minutes? Is that? It was maybe like 10, but I was like shocked. Fresno's a good time. That was a good time for me.
It was pretty crazy. So you can have a wide variety of things happen to you, right? But I would say like the application or the thing you can take from this episode and apply to your life is just the advice of 1, have down what you believe and what you want to say, right? Know exactly what the gospel is. You can write it out to yourself and memorize it. You can tell it to yourself over and over. You can read the gospels, but like just have out in a form, this is the core of what I believe. And if someone asks me, or if I feel I need to share, this is what I need to share. And then get those reps in of sharing. right? Whether it's like you and a friend that both want to learn how to share the gospel, just doing it to each other, and like one of you pretends to be the one who doesn't know, and the other one like is the one who's going to share, and you take turns. Or if it's going out and sharing with a family member, or someone you know you're supposed to share with, or someone who needs to hear, which is everybody. Or if it's just going out to your local mall or a parking lot somewhere and just asking someone if they have time to talk with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you're sharing with your dentist because they can't leave. You know what I mean? So yeah, the most important thing is to know what you want to say, just really simply. You don't have to know a lot, just the simple gospel, very quick, very fast, the basis of what you believe, and getting those repeated reps in of sharing that gospel with someone. That's like the most specific application you can get is just sharing those reps and knowing you believe. And it's 2 simple steps.
Repetition.
I mean? Yeah.
It's knowing what the Bible says about what the gospel is, and it's practicing. I know one guy who was like super nervous about it, and this is the guy who helped me become good at it. So when I met him, he was really good at it. But when he first started, he was like, I don't like this at all. I'm not comfortable. And he would go to the mirror and he'd like write down the gospel in his like a sticky note or whatever, have it on a sticky note. And he would just look at himself in the mirror and practice every day, multiple times a day until he was like feeling comfortable at it.
Works well.
And now he's like the guy who helped me become super good at it. I guess not super good, good enough at it, comfortable in it.
Yeah.
And now I get to help other people become comfortable in it.
Yeah.
You know, so it just takes a lot of repetition, getting out there. Don't be discouraged if people don't receive it. Don't even be surprised if people don't receive it.
Right.
But just do it from a place of love and empathy and wanting to see them saved.
Right. Nice.
All right.
Well, that's all I got to say on the subject.
Well, that's a wrap.
Heck yeah.
Tell them where they can find us.
Go find us on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook. We have Patreon. We have Anchor. We're going to be on TikTok in the near future. Maybe we already will by this time. I'm not sure. But we're getting on TikTok. We're going to post clips and stuff like that. So we're everywhere. Go follow us. I would say Instagram's our most popular platform. We've got like 1,400 followers on there around.
Yeah.
We have great conversations every day, do a lot of stories, put a lot of polls out, have a lot of interesting discussions. A lot to learn, a lot to be had. We're excited for the future. If you want to support us, again, we have Patreon and on Anchor you can support us. People are coming to know the Lord, and it's so awesome to see.
Yeah, you're part of a movement.
If this touched you in any way or you learned anything, please reach out and let us know how. We love to hear your testimonies. And maybe if you share this with someone and it touched their lives, we'd love to hear about it too. So we love you guys. You're awesome. You're amazing fans. Hope you learned something. We love you. Adios.